What's up, everybody? I am Bucky Brooks, and this is the Bucky Brooks Show. And I'm excited because the playoffs are underway. We're heading into the divisional round, and we have some great matchups on tap. It's exactly what we wanted to see and all the star players that we wanted to see. We start out by having an opportunity to look. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks, but look, we can see Pat Mahomes take on CJ Stroud when the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Houston Texans. We can see the Detroit Lions going against the Washington Commanders. You got to love that. We flip over on the next day. We have the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams. So you got two good quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Matthew Stafford. And then you finish it with Baltimore versus Buffalo, where you have Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen squaring off, which should be like a battle for the MVP award. And even though these games aren't always about the quarterback, we have seen that to win in the postseason, it really is about your quarterback being able to play at a high level. So what I want to do today is we can break all of that down, talk about all those things, but do it in a different way, but kind of picking out a main theme of each game and then kind of expanding on there to preview those games. But before we get to the previews, let's talk about our sponsor, Bet Online. Continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, to the NHL and UFC, Bet Online is the number one sports betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers to hat tricks, Bet Online has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. And the game doesn't start today. We're a few days away from kicking off these great playoff games, but man, there's so many things to talk about. First, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, because everyone hates the evil empire. They've become the new evil empire. 3 Super Bowl wins in 5 years. People don't like seeing the Chiefs, whether it's because of the Swifties, whether it's because Pat Mahomes annoys you because he's so good. Shout out to Pat Mahomes for having another kid, his third baby. They just welcome into the world. That's great. And all of that kicks off what will be a terrific playoff game for Kansas City in Arrowhead. And the thing about the Kansas City Chiefs, now that we've gotten through the regular season, they're built for the playoffs. And when you look at how this team has consistently performed throughout the postseason in the last, 5 years since Pat Mahomes took over, I mean, they are really difficult to knock off once it comes down to winning time. And the playoffs are winning time because it's a win or go home situation. You have to advance in the single elimination tournament that requires you to be at your best. Well, who is always at their best in these moments? Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. When you go back and you look at the history of the Kansas City Chiefs, after bye weeks, just during the regular season, Andy Reid is 21-4 throughout his career. He has mastered the art of getting a team ready to play with the extra week. Some would say like it's unusual that a guy would give his team so much time off but have them ready to play. But it's a formula that has really worked for the Kansas City Chiefs since Andy Reid has taken over. This guy understands how to get his team prepared. He makes it about making sure they're fresh and ready to go. He blends in enough work to make sure that they're sharp, but the Chiefs are built to play in the postseason. They basically rested their starters in week 18. Then they had the bye week. So this will be the first time they play in like 3 weeks. But you know what to expect when the Kansas City Chiefs are up in this round. They're going to find a way to win. Look, I think Patrick Mahomes has always reached the AFC Championship game since he's been a starting quarterback for the Chiefs. And when they've had home field advantage, you can just pencil them in to the AFC Championship game. That's just the history. That's what they do. Pat Mahomes is 12-2 in the postseason. When you think about why that is and how that is, well, it's because he's, an ultra cool competitor in the clutch. He makes the plays that are there to be made, but he switches his game a little bit in the postseason to give him an opportunity to continue to extend drives and allow his team to find a way to score points. In the postseason, what you see from Pat Mahomes is he's a little more reliant on his legs. Not that he is a athletic playmaker and like a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. He is different because he is a selective runner. Doesn't really utilize those skills a ton in the regular season, But when it's winning time in the postseason, he's willing to put the offense on his back, and he'll utilize his athleticism and his running skills to extend drives, make plays, and continue to keep the Chiefs on the field. In the postseason, you can expect to see him scramble 4 or 5 times to try and create plays, either directly as a runner or by buying time and extending the play so he can take a big shot down the field. This is how this offense operates. The thing about the Kansas City Chiefs that's different heading into the tournament, for all of the, I would say, hubbub and conversation, pearl clutching that we had over the Chiefs offense, when you really break down how they were playing ahead of the tournament, man, they're beginning to play their best ball, especially Pat Mahomes. In the last 6 games, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. The key to winning games in the postseason, don't turn the ball over. Pat Mahomes has scaled back some of the high-risk throws that he may make early in the year, and he's really locked in on being a more efficient and effective playmaker from the pocket. Well, when he's taking care of the ball and they're efficient and effective in the passing game, it sets up things in the running game that allow the Kansas City Chiefs to control the game. And one of the hidden stats when it comes to looking at the Kansas City Chiefs is how they dominate time of possession. Even though we associate the Chiefs with the high-flying circus that they used to be with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in their primes, they really are a ball control offense. They want to squat on the ball. They want to limit your opportunities to score, and that allows their defense to play at a high level because they're playing fewer snaps. In the postseason, when you see the emotional highs and lows and the swings really change the way teams play, Pat Mahomes' ability to take care of the ball is a game changer. They will be consistent. They will kind of play this thing out and wait for the other team to implode. And so when I say this team is built for the postseason, they're built for the postseason because they mastered the art of winning. The art of winning consists of low turnover rates, not giving up big plays, finding a way to create some big plays on offense, as we've seen with Travis Kelce and laterals and some of the funny razzle-dazzle stuff that the Chiefs are known to do. But it really comes down to that. Can you protect the ball? Can you make big plays and not allow big plays? If they do those things, Kansas City advances. When I look at the Texans side of this, it really kind of becomes a Joe Mixon situation. I'll talk about C.J. Stroud and how exciting and dazzling he is. It was great to see him back in the party with the performance that he had in the wildcard round. But this is about the Texans trying to impose their will on the Kansas City Chiefs. To do that, it requires Joe Mixon be the focal point of the offense as a runner. Joe Mixon this season in regular season games, he has 8 100-yard rushing games. The Kansas City, the Houston Texans are 6-2 in those games, and there'll be the debate whether it's a result of the team being up and they ran it out, or did he cause or lead to it? The one thing that I know is when he's running the ball effectively, it sets the table up for C.J. Stroud. They need Joe Mixon to play well to have any chance of knocking off the Chiefs. Final point. The Houston Texans defense, though, can be a problem. DeMeco Ryans had the defense cooking a week ago, really relying on Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter to make plays. If they're able to get that 4-man rush up and going where they're able to harass Pat Mahomes, their secondary is good to throw a blanket over the other guys, and maybe, just maybe, we see Mahomes falter. I'm not banking on it, but that is what you're looking for when you see these teams square off. Next, let's talk about the other game in the AFC. I would say that it's the game that everyone wants to see, the battle of the MVPs in terms of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. This is one of the more competitive MVP races that we've seen because these guys have played at ridiculously high levels. Josh Allen was not expected to put up numbers that he's put up. He's one of only 3 players to have 40-plus touchdowns, 500-plus rushing yards, and fewer than 7 interceptions. You know who else is in that club? Lamar Jackson, twice. Lamar Jackson did it in 2019, and he did it this year. That shouldn't take away from the brilliance of Josh Allen, but that just tells you how special both of these guys are. When I look at Josh Allen, the thing about him is he's always possessed his skills. He's always kind of been the athletic gunslinger that can make it happen in a variety of ways. But this year, I feel a more composed, a calmer, cooler operator from the pocket that will make those plays, particularly with his legs, and gotta have it moments. And gotta have it moments in football are, hey, red zone, third down, 2-minute end of half. When it's critical for the Buffalo Bills in those moments, that's when Josh Allen would throw the cape on and go make a play with his legs. We've seen it time and time again, particularly down in the red zone. When they get close enough, it becomes Josh Allen running a power, Josh Allen running a quarterback draw, Josh Allen finding a way to use his legs to put the ball in the paint, or he'll find a way to extend drives and find an open receiver in the back of the end zone. Regardless, the Buffalo Bills offense runs through 17, and he is going to have to play at an MVP level to knock off the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the trick, though. If you're Joe Brady, you still want to run the football. You want to run the football, and you want to rely on James Cook to be able to give you some of that production on the ground to force the Ravens to at least have to respect the running game. If they don't respect the running game, then they'll load up and really put their efforts all into stopping number 17. That's why James Cook's role in this game is significant, because as he gets near the 100-yard mark and those things, it changes how the defense may defend Josh Allen. That's why I'll talk about Josh Allen playing at an MVP level, but James Cook has to bring his A game, because he is going to be counted on to make big plays as a runner receiver in an offense that doesn't have the established weaponry or firepower on the perimeter. James Cook could quickly become Josh Allen's number one target as they look to attack a defense that's really playing its best. On the other side, the Baltimore Ravens, it's funny to hear people talk, because you would, if you just listen, you would believe that Derrick Henry made Lamar Jackson special. And while I can acknowledge that it is a tough task to deal with Derrick Henry running downhill on an assortment of power plays, Derrick Henry really only enhanced what the Baltimore Ravens were doing. Remember, Lamar Jackson won MVP and Derrick Henry was not around last season. The numbers were different, but he was very successful without the running game giving him the boost that is given him with King Henry in the huddle. He also has shown the ability to do some very unique things as he's playing the best ball of his career. For so long, we always viewed Lamar Jackson as a runner. We had people on national TV talking about Lamar Jackson should be a wide receiver as opposed to being a quarterback, which is crazy now that you look back on it. And what's crazy is those comments were directed at someone who is the first player to lead the NFL in pass yards per attempt at 8.8 and rushing yards per attempt at 6.6. We're talking about a unicorn at the position, a guy that is not commonly found playing the position, an elite playmaker with his legs who has become an elite thrower, and is one of those things where we may not have seen it or expected it to be this refined or this polished, but we certainly saw him dominate the game in multiple ways at Louisville. This is the best that we've seen from Lamar Jackson. The thing that he has to do is take advantage of the opportunity. They go into Buffalo being favored, being expected to advance to the championship round, given how well they played. But the Buffalo Bills are a workmanlike defense that will make it tough for you to move it down the field. That's why the emotional control is everything, because Lamar Jackson has to be disciplined enough to take what the Bills are giving up until he's able to get what he wants as the coverage moves. If he displays the patience, if he displays the persistence, he can find a way to create big plays against his defense, but they're going to make him work. He has to be willing to put on the hard hat and go to work to see if he can get it done. Regardless, both of these teams are terrific. I'm looking forward to seeing Josh Allen square off with Lamar Jackson. The Bills are averaging 30.1 points per game. They've only given up 14 sacks. They only have 8 total turnovers, which is why they've been able to go 13-4. The Ravens can be a little loosey with the ball, but in this game, it really comes down to which team makes the fewest mistakes. We should keep our eyes on number 17 and number 8 to see which one of those guys outplays the other MVP front runner. Now let's talk about Jayden Daniels and why Jayden Daniels is the most dangerous quarterback in the divisional round. And I am saying that after just throwing all kinds of verbal bouquets at Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But When I look at Jayden Daniels, there's not a player doing more with less than Jayden Daniels. And that's being very respectful to what Josh Allen is doing in Western New York. But Jayden Daniels is playing for a team that no one really expected to get into the postseason. And the fact they got into the playoff round and won a game on the strength of Jayden Daniels being a special player continues to extend the narrative that this dude is different. Even though he was the second guy taken in the draft, he may exceed whatever we thought the number one guy, Caleb Williams, was going to do. And part of that is just because of the maturity that he displays, the poise that he displays, how he's calm, cool, collected in critical moments. You got to love that. When I go back and I look at him throughout the course of the year, Hail Mary, he delivered. Late game situations, routinely, he delivered. Heartbeat never changes. Face never changes. Just understands the moment, seizes the opportunity, and gets it done. It's one of the reasons why this is a really hard game for Detroit. And it's hard for Detroit because this is a guy that's not just going to sit in the grassy knoll from the center of the pocket. He is going to be on the move, whether by design or by instincts. He is going to flee the pocket when things get a little hairy. And he's not only going to flee the pocket, but he can do damage as a runner or thrower. When you look at regular season numbers, over 3,500 pass yards, 891 rush yards, 31 total TDs. Those things were like a little appetizer to what we saw last week when he had an opportunity to lead his team back. It is the poise, it is the confidence, it's the composure to be able to execute under pressure. He does it time and time again. And it's one of the reasons why I've never been more impressed with a young player than Jayden Daniels. He is the ultimate dual threat, and what the Detroit Lions have to worry about is defending RPOs and design runs that allow him to tap into that athleticism while also giving him big play opportunities in the passing game. In Detroit, because they play so much man-to-man, they have to be careful of him breaking contain of the initial front five or front six, because those plays could be big for Jayden Daniels on the ground. How will Aaron Glenn do it? When we've seen him in the past, they want to play man-to-man more than anybody in the league. They want to lock you up. They want to go nose to nose. They want to make life miserable for your perimeter players. The bad thing about that is if you lock up outside, you now create more opportunities on the inside. And that is something that you don't want. Zach Ertz being able to get over the middle, Terry McLaurin being able to work in between the hashes. You do not want those guys to have success. And so it's going to be really important that Aaron Glenn varies what he typically does, move away from some of the man-to-man, maybe go a little more zone, maybe cloud the middle and force the quarterback to throw the ball where you want it thrown, as opposed to reacting to him. Because by creating pressure on the Lions with an offense that is really good in Jayden Daniels, man, you can throw them out their game. And when I wrote in my notes, pressure, pressure, pressure. Now, some of that applied to what the Detroit Lions should do defensively, but really what I'm saying is the environment that you're going to step into when you play the Lions at home. For the first time in forever, the Lions have expectations, and those expectations leads to anxiety and angst in the stands if it doesn't go your way right out the gate. If you're the Washington Commanders, the longer that you stay close, the more the anxiety builds within the stadium, and the more it has a negative effect on the performance of the guys that are playing on the biggest stage of their respective lives. That's why the pressure should lead Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell to stick to the basics. Get the ball to your star players, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Let those guys get to cooking early and allow your team to win with superior talent. If they don't do that, if they try to out-trick or out-scheme a team that is really creative on offense, they're going to find themselves stuck in neutral. And more importantly, they're going to find someone else advancing to the championship round. So keep an eye on that. Jared Goff must find a way to keep Jahmyr Gibbs in the mix. One of the best runner receivers that we've seen in the league. He is critical to their success. Running the ball with Gibbs behind that talented offensive line will alleviate some of the pressure on Goff, and it might prevent them from having to engage in a shootout that they certainly don't want to participate in when it comes to the Commanders. Final thought when it comes to the playoffs. Man, the Rams may be a dark horse contender. When I look at the Rams, it's funny because early in the year, they started out 1-4, didn't look good. Sean McVay kind of has them right before the bye, and he gets them locked and loaded. He talked about what they needed to do to be able to get it done to make a run in the postseason. And when I look at what the Rams have done, it's not a complete makeover, but I would say it's a throwback to old school and some of the original things that we saw from this offense when we fell in love with it. Matthew Stafford spending more time under center. Why? Running game and play action passing game is better when the quarterback is under center. Why does it matter to me now when I got two talented wide receivers on the outside in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua? Well, it matters because it's easy to design complementary pass plays that marry the way that they're using the wide receivers in the running game to dig out those safeties in the box. By combining the run game, the pass game, they've allowed Matthew Stafford to get very, very comfortable in a new version of offense that he didn't really embrace when he first got there. But now when you see this team rolling, it's because of the effective use of play action, quick rhythm, run game, boot game, a smorgasbord of passing concepts and play opportunities, big play opportunities that are coming through the power of the pen, which is why you have to love Sean McVay in these moments. But it's not only what they're doing on offense, because I can talk about Kyron Williams getting busy. I can talk about the two guys on the outside, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua getting busy. But the most impressive coaching job to me has been on the defensive side of the ball. When I look at Chris Shula taking over the defense, first-time play caller, but having been in the building, he didn't really radicalize or change anything. They got some young players that they drafted. They dropped them in the lineup, and they got them playing well. Some of the guys that they went back and picked up, Darius Williams coming back over, some of the young guys being thrust into prominent roles. They're playing well because everyone on that side of the ball is committed to doing their job. They also understand, and maybe we don't talk about this much, but they understand the pecking order of how these things go. When you have multiple players and playmakers that can make it happen, they understand how to set them up for success. Jared Verse being able to move around, Kobe Turner being able to make some plays. How about Braden Fisk also jumping in and making contributions? Those guys up front allowed the Rams to do it without blitzing, even though we saw them heat up Sam Darnold a week ago, and maybe that's in the cards for them to be able to attack Jalen Hurts with blitz pressure. But it's not just how they're able to do it defensively with the front line, because, look, they're getting sacks. They have a Pro Bowler in Verse. But in the back end, man, when you're really playing with a bunch of unheralded playmakers, man, they are killing it on the outside. Keep the ball in front, great tacklers, great versatility that they've shown, because we saw multiple guys get to the quarterback either on cat blitzes or slot blitzes. We have to like that. And as this defense goes and makes life miserable for the opposing offense, it is only going to give Sean McVay more opportunities to what I call squat on the ball. Think Wisconsin basketball back in the day when they were very half-court, draining the shot clock out. And by reducing the total number of possessions, it now creates a heightened pressure on the Eagles offense to have to go and play a certain way. And if you're the Eagles, you don't want to add to the pressure that you're already feeling in this game. Everybody in the football world expects you to knock off and probably dominate the Rams, given just how you knocked them off before, 37-20. I'm really competitive game. Like, they kind of dominated from the jump. You got Saquon Barkley, 2K runner, give the ball to Saquon, let him set the table, then everyone eats after he sets the table. That will certainly be in consideration given the 2,000 yards that he brings with him on his resume. His impressive feats as a runner receiver also will make him a focal point in the offense, as maybe they drop it off to the running backs early to get the team with confidence. But really it comes down to the play of the quarterback. As much as I talked about the dark horse contender status of the Rams, and some of that being influenced by Matthew Stafford and what he brings each and every week, the Super Bowl hopes of the Eagles also hang in the balance due to the quarterback in his play. Jalen Hurts has been up and down. Look, I'm not taking a shot at him. He's been pretty good, but it's still up and down performances that make you wonder, is he ready for the moment again? But then you look back at how he performed in the Super Bowl and how he went toe-to-toe with Pat Mahomes. I'm of the belief that he is a big game player, and that the bigger the game, the better he plays, because he pours more into those efforts. Time will ultimately tell, but man, this game that I don't know, like maybe some people are treating like a throwaway. This might be one of the most compelling, might be the most compelling game when we look back at it. Styles make fights, run game, passing game, play action, not play action, all of that, super compelling. Then you throw in just Philly being Philly, where we know and watching that game, we can feel the nervous energy of everyone in the building. Should be a lot of fun. And it should be a lot of fun to see how they handle the pressure of the moment, because if they can handle the pressure, they go in advance. And it could be some interesting fodder talking about the Eagles, or we could flip it. It could be the feel-good story in terms of the LA Rams representing LA strong, given the horrific tragedies that occurred in their city. Regardless, it's going to be must-see TV like the rest of the postseason, and I can't wait to dive into it. So the next time that we get together on the podcast, we'll talk some more about the playoffs. We'll talk a little bit about the college football playoff, maybe talk about Ohio State, Notre Dame, how those two teams could get down. But regardless, man, we got a fun field weekend of great football ahead. I can't wait to talk about it some more on the next Bucky Brooks Show. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend about the great things that we're doing on the pod. Just love talking ball. And as we get closer to the draft, the NFL Combine, and some of the things that will help us figure out who is going to be in the 2025 draft class, we'll talk about those things as well on the Bucky Brooks Show. Until next time, I'm Bucky Brooks. Talk to you soon.